Hey guys, Jen here with Chaos and Grace, and today I'm going to share with you the last video in my Homeschooling Through High School series, how I am planning and record keeping all through all 4 high school years. So planning is something that I love to do. I've used many different kinds of planners, many different kinds of homeschool planners, and over the years of trying different things, I've realized that the one thing I really love is having everything in one spot for all 4 of my kids. So for doing a high school planner, I also wanted the same thing. I wanted something in one spot, something to keep all my records together. I really didn't want freshman year in one place, sophomore year in another, and so on and so forth. So I started looking, and there was absolutely nothing that I could fit into what I had in my head. So I just created something. And I'll walk you through that and how I did that in just a minute. But I want to show this book first. And I talked about this book in, I think it was the first video that I did. And I'll pop an iCard up there if you guys check that video out if you haven't seen it yet. And this book has a lot of the forms and a lot of the organization to keep your planning and your record keeping all together in the back of this book. And then they show you how to use it throughout the book. So if you don't have this book, I'd highly recommend it. I will stick a link for it down in the description box below. So in another video in this series, I talked about which curriculum we're going to be using. In that video, I talked about the planning a little bit and how that works. Basically what happens is I hand him a book and say, you have X amount of time. I think I worked it out to being about 3 weeks of time for him to get it all done. And he has to come up with his own timeline, his own setup, and how he wants to accomplish everything. I love that for many reasons. The most important being a building of his executive functioning skills. Wyatt has ADHD, and that is something that all people with ADHD really struggle with, is executive functioning. And I really liked that because this is a really good spot for us to start in there. This is a new diagnosis. I didn't even know what executive functioning was prior to all these evaluations and diagnoses with a couple of my kids. And really with the older kids, it's hard to, and I'll do a separate video on this, but just to hit the highlights of it. A lot of the things that help with teaching executive functioning skills are geared for younger children because it is really what you want to do is teach them as young as possible. But when you don't know, what can you do? So now that we're older and we're rounding the corner to college years here, we really need to work hard on this because without those good executive functioning skills, being independent and successful are going to be extremely difficult. So that was probably the biggest reason in me choosing that curriculum. He needed a planner to go along with that, not just for language arts, but for everything. We've done a planner for a couple years, but it's pretty much been me writing down his work and him checking it off. This is going to be just for him. So I'm going to start with the planner that I have for him. And I did all of this just either in Word or in PowerPoint. I downloaded free images off of Pexels, and this is, I forget what this is. I'm going to leave the link for what this is, this binding system. It was not one of those crazy expensive binding systems. It probably takes something a little bit wider than that, but not much. So that's the downside of it. But I can open this up and close it, and these are totally reusable for, year to year. And if I need to add pages in this, which I might later. All right, so in the front of it, I just put the homeschool planner, that this is his freshman high school year, and some scripture for him. On the first page is just our daily homeschool schedule. We've got 2 different schedules. So my homeschool schedules, I never follow to a T. This is just pretty much a rough outline, and I tweak it as needed. Some days we really cannot start with chores. Some days that just needs to be saved for later. Some days group work is just not happening. We need to start with other one-on-one things. Some days we end up staying on science for half the day. It all ends up balancing out in the long run, but this is what I aim for every day. And I don't let myself feel guilty or feel bad if I don't stick straight to this schedule. So I think that's really important. Your schedule is supposed to be a tool to serve you. You are not supposed to be a slave to your schedule. This is our homeschool schedule for therapy days. We've got 3 days a week that we're doing occupational therapy. We're doing now speech therapy, and we're doing one-on-one therapy. And these are things that absolutely are non-negotiable. There are things we absolutely have to be at. Sometimes we are able to bring school with us. Sometimes we are not. It just really depends on the day and what we've got left to do. So this is what we aim for when it comes to our therapy days. And then every other page of the planner looks like this. This is the week of the month. This is the schedule that we're going to be doing for the day. And then his work for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We do not school on Fridays. That is our free day or our catch-up day. That is the day that we'll do a lot of field trips. Those are the days we'll do play dates, we'll do co-op. It just really depends on the day. Or we'll just have a fun day at home. If he has, say, a long-term project and he has to work weekly on things, this is where he would put this in. And this section will help him stay on track and keep him organized and remember the steps that he needs to take to be able to finish that larger project that's due maybe a week or a month down the road. And that is literally all that I have in his planner. This here is my planner. I got this for a few bucks on Amazon. They actually sent me the wrong size. This is a 1 inch and it was supposed to be a 1.5 inch, but I needed to get this done and I just decided to make it work. I really hope it's going to. It is getting pretty full, as you can see, so I really hope that this is gonna cut it. So I am gonna do a separate video on my whole homeschool planner because a big section of this is my other kids and organization stuff for me, but this section is the high school section. So I have a folder in here that is just going to be for papers and things that I need to remember, maybe project stuff that I need for co-op for him or whatever else. So this is one of the many forms that is out of that high school at home book. This is the 4-year study plan. Now for our high school plan, I have a pretty firm idea of what we are going to do for the core requirements for all 4 years. The electives though, we've got ideas, we've looked up things, we have a rough idea. I really, being someone that loves to plan, have it all laid out, but I'm not going to write it all in here. I've got a kind of a different master running list. Maybe I should put that in here. And I'm just gonna kind of fill that out year by year. This page is also from that book. It helps you compute a GPA. This is a totally new thing for me. So it helps you do it through all 4 years and give you final grade point average for the end of the year. This is awesome. There's directions in that book on how to do this too because I was completely clueless on how to do this. So I'm glad I have that. So I'm keeping that in there. And then my computer decided it was not going to print anymore. It's in like this permanent error state. So I don't know, it might be time for a new printer, but I wrote this out on some graph paper and made 12 copies of it. I am not gonna have detailed lesson plans in here. That is what his planner is for. He's the one that's gonna be organizing this. So this is just kind of gonna be an at a glance kind of deal for me. And I'm gonna check in with him so that we can both remember what we talked about and keep it organized and stay on the same page. And that is all I put into the high school planner. Now in this book, I'm going to take you back into this. So I ripped the pages out to be able to make copies and get good clean lines, but there are so many different things in here you can keep track of, and I might add some more in here. This is the 1-year study plan just to, for keeping track of like curriculum that you're using. This one, I like this one. I am going to put this one in here, I think. This is the educational plan that you have for the year. You do one every single year. Your preliminary course contract. So this is something you sit down with your child and you say, this is what you're doing, this is what's required, and you write your list of requirements down here, your grading method. And then at the end of the year, this is the course completed contract and your final grade. And I really like this idea. It's kind of like a detailed report card. So I think I'm gonna do these for each and every one. I didn't do this at first because I was really worried about having space in that little 1-inch binder. I'm gonna give it a try and see if that works. These sheets are for recording time, books, activities. There's several sheets. There's that computing a GPA sheet. And then here's your reading list. This I think I'm going to put in his planner so that he can keep a running list of what he's reading. And then at the end of this book is your academic transcript record. Now I've seen several of these online, so when it comes time for that, we'll see what route we go. But this is a really, at least, nice way to give me an idea of what I need to keep in mind and how everything needs to be organized at the end of high school. And again, everything, directions on how to use those forms and everything is in this book in a lot of detail. And it gives you examples of them already filled out. There's the 4-year study plan already filled out. A 1-year study plan filled out. And then it gives a lot of written instruction for that and things you want to keep in mind for it. All in all of my planning for homeschooling high school, a lot of it has been through this book. This book has just been a lifesaver for me, really helping me understand everything that I need to do and stay organized and how I need to be organized. And if you're interested in seeing this video will be coming out soon, a whole run through of my planner for all 4 of my kids in one binder. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and the entire Homeschool Through High School series. If you did like it, I'd appreciate if you give it a thumbs up. And I also want to invite you to subscribe if you haven't done so already and hit the notification bell next to it so you can stay up to date on all the videos we put out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.